And next up this week is Gran Torino, directed and starring Clint Eastwood. And it seems a lot like this movie is kind of his swan song. He's probably going to retire from directing and acting in movies. And it's a good way for him to go out. I mean, he goes out much like he came in, and he's basically playing an old version of Dirty Harry in this. And the movie is really about racism, I think, more than anything else. And there's a subplot involving this gang, and he's got to rescue the neighbor kid. But really, it's about his character Walt, who's lived in the same neighborhood for 40, 50 years, and it's changed around him. And now there's a lot of Asian immigrants living there, and he hates the neighbors and calls them terrible names, sometimes to their faces. But really, what it boils down to is that he's not racist necessarily because it's a character flaw. It's because of ignorance. Yeah. And his only exposure to particularly Asians has been fighting them in the Korean War, which not a good way to get to know somebody.
No, and there's a lot of this, referring to people as their ethnicity in it, and it's not only with the Asians who live next door, but it's also with the black people that are trying to attack one of the kids who lives next door, Sue, who he turns to have a friendship with towards the end of this. But it's also his friend the barber, who he refers to because of his Italian heritage. So it's I see a lot of this as it's Clint Eastwood as a man who's kind of outgrown society, or society's outgrown him.
Yeah, well, he's certainly not politically correct.
No.
And he comes from a time when amongst friends you could say those sort of things, and as long as it's understood between friends. But I think the way at least at first, the way he refers to his neighbors as gooks and zipperhead and things like that, he doesn't mean it as a term of endearment. I mean, it really is based on hate. But it's not because he's a bad guy. It's because he hasn't got to know them as people, and that's really the key to overcoming racism, is stopping, not seeing people as a race, but seeing them just as people. And of course, he does that with his neighbors, particularly Tao, the young boy. He actually becomes a very positive role model for him. And that really is the heart of the movie. The only sticking point I thought was the end, where everything is sort of wrapped up very quickly and very neatly. And it's the sort of thing I wouldn't excuse in most movies, except that I thought Eastwood was so good about the rest of it that the end doesn't really sabotage the heart of the movie. It's a little clumsy, but it certainly didn't damage what it was trying to say. So no, it didn't ruin the movie for me. It's a little clumsy. I think it keeps it from being a great movie, but a very good one.
Oh yeah,
even despite the ending. So be sure to check them out.
And we'll be right back with our next review.